this case. He was okay, he was arrested and beaten, and he's dead.
Who was Willie James Williams? That's a question that provokes heated discussion among many of the people of his hometown of Valdosta. Valdosta is the county seat for Lowndes County. The reason that such a simple question fails to elicit a simple answer, death, Willie James Williams has become a symbol, and as is often the case with symbols, this one-time, middle-aged African-American man now represents different things to different people. For some, he is a martyr, a victim of official misconduct and police brutality, a symbol of blatant racism and a treacherous criminal justice system. Others see only a criminal who got what he deserved, a ne'er-do-well, a disposable member of society.
Well, the town has never really left the 60s. Valdosta have never left from where it was segregated. Valdosta have always been a black and white town.
For self-preservation, if you are African American and if you want to be successful in Valdosta, you must conform to the local establishment. If you want to get ahead in Valdosta, you're African American, you metaphorically kiss the right button and not complain and stay on your knees and pray.
Change. It haven't really been any change. You do what you do over there and don't bother nobody or don't make no fuss, and it's all right. And we won't do anything.
This is a Sunday morning, June the 12th, and it's Sunday morning, and I'm out here at the Robinson's estate over in Brooks County, and I decided to come out here and fish a little bit this morning. I had some issues and things that I needed to kind of get a breather on, and this is a place where my son built out here for these people, and this is another stock pond that they allow me to come out and fish. I'm gonna shut this off and I'll pick up a little later. I'm going to change out my plugs. But we need some money on the south side because we are facing economic oppression. The Valdosta news media is controlled by the good old boys, which is the mayor and all of your county commissioners and whatever blacks is on board is being manipulated, except for maybe one, maybe two. You know, they're really being manipulated. We got some that's trying to do things, but they should do them through the city council instead of trying to do it on an individual basis. NAACP chapter is pretty strong. We got pretty good representation, but you know, we have blacks that wants to come into public and fight against something that Thurgood Marshall put together, and they need to be ashamed because of just that reason, because of Thurgood, for what he done for us as a nation. And if they're going to have quarrels and arguments, they need to have that argument to themselves in their private quarrels, instead of making spectacles of themselves in the presence of the mayor and the other city councilmen that talks about them very, very, very negative when they're behind closed doors. Okay. The reason I know that because I've heard them when they spoke some things about some of the members and some of the times they've had in their lives and how they forgave them and helped them along the way to come through some crisis in their lives. So there, I call that a skeleton, and I call that manipulation by the skeleton. Okay. And they put little springs on the skeleton and work his little arms and his little feet. And then he just pit-pat around and follow the commands of his orchestrator, okay, which is the puppet master. But anyway, let me shut up and go ahead and change my bait line, okay? Next time, ghetto child.
they root is all outdoors.
They unprofessional. They unprofessional, and the thing is that, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, it's like, man, come on, man. Hello?
Your call is important. Got you on hold, child. Will be answered in the order it was received. Thank you.
No, they ain't got me on hold. You just got me on. You got me in the call. You're in the calling block.
Same thing. Got you on hold.
Same old thing. I mean, it don't really matter. It's better than that hopefully that the same person that answered the phone, that called the last time, don't answer the phone. What time is it?
4:25.
Huh?
4:25.
4:25. You know you can talk a whole lot lower when you got me on speakerphone, right?
I make it my business to whisper.
Baby, I'll take it like that.
The phone was ringing.
Attorney General's office.
Hey, yes ma'am, could I please speak to your civil rights department, please?
One moment, please. Attorney General's office. How may I help you?
Hey, good afternoon, ma'am. I was calling, this is the civil rights department?
Yes, it is.
Yes, ma'am. I was calling, my name is Aaron Lewis Green Jr. Right now I'm calling about the violation of my rights by, government officials here in Lowndes County, Georgia, and Valdosta, Georgia. I've been calling all over the place. I try to call everybody in the world, and the only thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to secure my constitutional rights, ma'am, and try to get somebody to look into the circumstances. So I got physical evidence. I got recorded phone calls. I got paperwork to prove that the Lowndes County Clerk's office is depriving me of my right to represent myself. I got evidence to prove that them, as well as officers here inside the jail, along with other officers inside the Lowndes County jail, are conspiring against my rights and conspiring against, I would think, even my life. And it's not a joke. I'm not just joking about it when I say this. These people are refusing me my right to represent myself. They're refusing me every right that's secured to me up under the United States Constitution, as well as the Georgia Constitution. And I'm just trying to get somebody to please look into what's going on in my situation. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing everything in my power, in my legal right, to try to, notify the appropriate authorities for some type of review or some type of insight or somebody to investigate or to look into what's going on.
All right, hold on just a minute. Hold on just a minute.
I can't get over Latoya Brown. She hung the phone up.
This one I hit her with the law. Hello? She still got me on hold. I'm trying to see. Lord, please bless me with a breakdown. Someone.
Okay. You ain't got long before that phone hangs up. You got about like 4 more minutes.
Yeah. Okay, that's just the way it is. She come back home. Like this. I'll call back and forth with him and phone.
Hey,
Attorney General's office, can I help you?
Yes, ma'am. Could I please give the rights department, please?
Okay, hold on, please.
that's somebody she had done transferred you to.
I already know that. But then she transferred, yeah.
Sorry.
Yes. Hey, how you doing? Good afternoon. Hello? Hello?
Attorney General's office?
Yes, ma'am. Civil rights department, please.
Is there someone you're looking for in civil rights?
No, ma'am. I won't. Negative.
Megan, can I help you?
Wait, hello?
Yes, can I help you?
This is who? Who am I speaking with?
This is Megan.
Megan. Alright, Megan, I was trying to call and speak up with actually the clerk herself. Is Miss Green in today?
No, it's Friday. She normally leaves around 12 on Friday.
Okay, then, this is what I was trying to do. I was trying to locate, are you aware of somebody by the name of Bruce A. Barnes that's employed by the clerk's office?
We don't have a Bruce in our clerk in the Lowndes County Clerk's office. We don't.
You don't have
We
a
only
Bruce in it?
No, we only have 2 males, and there's neither one are named Bruce.
So anybody by the name of Bruce Barnes employed by the district attorney's office?
Maybe I could transfer you up there. That name sounds familiar, but I don't know where he works.
Okay, yeah. The reason why is because I'm trying to confirm the delivery of some certified mail. And he received mail for somebody that was located as well as in the clerk's office, as well as somebody that's located in the state attorney's office. And I'm trying to confirm the reception of that mail. And I'm really trying to speak directly with him, or either find out who he's employed by, because it's kind of crazy to me that the same person will receive mail for a county employee as well as a state employee.
Right. I don't know who that is. But what do you mail in?
Let me ask you. I've been in some certified mail, some legal notices to 2 different people. But let me ask you this: I had a habeas corpus pending in civil court. There should have been pending in civil court. It's supposed to be filed on March 21st. My name is Green, Aaron Green.
Is there an E at the end of Green?
No E, ma'am.
What year was it filed, do you know?
It's supposed to have been filed on March 21st, 2017.
In Lowndes County.
In Lowndes County.
And it's AA or AR?
AARON. Yes, ma'am.
What's your middle name?
Louis.
The only thing I've got is a 2016 scary face, but that's for Brooks County bonding. That's not an actual, I don't have a habeas with your, but what I can is I can transfer you to Michael, who gets all the habeas cases.
Michael? Yeah.
Michael. I can transfer you to him, and he might be able to speak with you about whether it's been filed, whether he's got it on his desk, and it just hasn't been filed in yet.
Hey, thank you so much, man. That would be excellent. And Michael, and what's his last name? Michael who?
Don't make me butcher that for you. It's Hurt. H-E-B-E-R-T. Herbert or Hebert. He says it weird.
Okay,
I don't know how to say it.
I understand. It's okay. It's okay. Hey, I'm not the best at pronouncing either thing. And if I may, ma'am, just for records, I apologize. If I could get your last name, please.
It's Riley. R-I-L-E-Y.
Hey, thank you so much, ma'am. God bless you, and you have a wonderful day, okay?
All right, let me transfer you. Hold on one second, okay?
Thank you.
Sorry, Michael A. Bear is not available. Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
Good afternoon, Mr. Michael. I was calling on behalf of Mr. Aaron Lewis Green Jr. Unfortunately, I received some documents pertaining to a habeas corpus he had filed here at my house at 4016 Sandy Run Drive. This is also calling on behalf of his wife. Would you please call me back 229-444-1257? Would you please also contact her and notify her as to the filing about the habeas corpus, because these filings of this and copies of this paperwork should have went to him in the Lowndes County Jail. I'm not pretty sure why the copies came here. Could you please get back with me as soon as possible about this? Thank you. Have a blessed day.
You know what?
Hello, and thank you for calling the Lowndes County. We are located at 327 North Secretary. Yes, hello?
Yes, clerk's office.
Yes, who is speaking with you, please, ma'am?
This is Latoya.
Man, hey, how you doing, Miss Latoya Brown? This is Aaron Green. I'm calling in reference to the paperwork you received from me on the 29th.
Yes.
Did you properly file it upon the automated system, ma'am?
It was filed, and you'll get your copies in the mail.
What did you file it upon the automated system? Come on, the automated system, ma'am.
It was filed, and you'll get your copies.
No. Yes or no?
First of all, don't call me or yelling at me. It was filed.
Somebody yelling at you. I'm asking you legitimate questions. Did you correctly file my paperwork upon
It's filed. It is
the
filed.
criminal automated system? Okay.
It's filed. Okay.
I hope so. Make sure you check my forms.
She hung up.
Yeah, I know she gonna go. It's all good. I already got her. It was filed. It was filed. She kept saying it was filed. Okay. Alright, they did not be filed against the automated system. And these 75 million you're gonna send to the Attorney General against her. and I want to prosecute it. And I'm gonna send my name certified mail to the FBI and the Attorney General's office. Period, point blank. The next time you do it too, all thing you got to check at the bottom certified mail. You hear me on that card? Yeah. Certified mail. Yeah. Hey, how you doing, ma'am? I was trying to speak to a reporter, directly with a reporter here at Exeter News.
Okay, hold on.
G.B.R. News Desk, can I help you? Hey, how you doing, sir? Is this directly a reporter for Exeter News? This is the news assignment desk. What's going on? Hey, sir. Right now, I'm trying to find a news reporter, somebody that will cover my story. Right now, currently, sir, I'm in Loudoun County Jail, and I've been deprived of every constitutional right that I have a right to. I have an ongoing conspiracy. I have evidence of this. I have where I've been deprived of my right to proceed pro se. I have a clerk of court, a deputy clerk of court, which is refusing to properly file my paperwork. Okay, I will tell you we're not going to probably go down to Lowndes County for something like that, but I appreciate the call. Good luck. Thank you. Bye.
WALB. Hold on now. Hello? WALB.
Hey, how you doing, ma'am?
Good.
This is a reporter.
No, I can let's talk to somebody in the newsroom, okay?
Yes, please, ma'am.
Newsroom.
Hey, how you doing, ma'am?
Good, how are you?
Yes, indeed. Hey, ma'am, I was calling in reference to some constitutional violations. Right now, currently, my brother is in the Loudoun County Jail, and he's being deprived of every right that he has. Currently, even right now, he's trying to get somebody to get some type of exposure in this situation because he has evidence. He told me he has evidence that the clerk of court in Loudoun County is refusing to properly file his paperwork according to Georgia law. He also has evidence where they have already, he got physical evidence where they've already improperly filed his paperwork. He has recordings, all type of different evidence where he can corroborate his story. And he's trying to get some type of exposure with somebody to cover his story where he can get some type of justice because evidently ongoing conspiracy against his right. Otherwise he ain't getting no justice.
Could you email what he has to our news email address? That way all of our reporters will see it. And then if they're interested in sharing a story with you, they can call you back.
Okay. So could you quote that email address for us, please, ma'am?
Yeah, it's news@walb.com.
Okay. Hey, ma'am, I thank you so much. God bless y'all for everything that you do. And I pray and hope that you would maybe mention his story. His name is Aaron Lewis Green Jr. And he's housed in the Loudoun County Jail at this time. So when you run across his story, please, if you please pass it on and maybe we can just pray and hope that some kind of way we can get some type of exposure that the American dream won't never fail because according to the Constitution, man, these things should be going on.
Well, I'll pass it along.
Hey, thank you, ma'am, and God bless you.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
This is kbci.blogspot.com. YouTube, Boston, G.B.R. You know, there's a lot of strange things happening here in Valdosta and Lowndes County and in the state of Georgia, in fact. Today I'm standing in front of the courthouse in Lowndes County. You know, I've been saying for 15 to 20 years that there's something very strange in Valdosta. News is not reported to the general public. You've heard me talk about the 31 jail deaths from 1994 to 2009, and from 2009 to 2013, no one seemed to know. It all seemed to be top secret. Your news media, your television, and your radio won't talk about it. And even more interesting, I have addressed this issue to Sheriff Prime, that on May the 8th, 2010, an inmate was tasered in medical and died. And nothing was published in the local paper. You've heard me talk about that, and I talked about the Georgia Attorney General. Now, for the first time, I'm going to call the names because of what happened to this beautiful sister right here who's going to talk in a minute. It is time now that the truth be told. This individual, a former inmate from the Valdosta and Lowndes County Jail, wrote this on July the 2nd, 2010. This is the cover letter to his legal document that's been stamped by the court. By the way, it was stamped in the courts with their stamp. Dear, y'all remember I told y'all about this. I don't have to lie. I believe in the truth that I'm talking about. Dear Sarah L. Crow, will you please file both legal letter to Senior Judge Kelly D. Turner and State Court Solicitor. Look, this is it. This individual talked about the inhumane conditions in the jail, among other things. But in the last paragraph, he certified and restated to Judge Kelly D. Turner and the clerk of the court that that death took place. But who cares about that? Who cares about ignored news here in Valdosta and Lowndes County? Now, I'm going to back out the picture. Why am I going to do that? I just want to show you one among many of the newsworthy information that the Valdosta Daily Times, I'm not criticizing them, ABC, NBC, CBS, and other news media outlets just don't want you to know about. Now look, come here, my beautiful sister. What got me the other day was when this sister, beautiful sister of a beautiful daughter, something as serious as being put in handcuffs based on a lie. Now y'all excuse me for being blunt, but because of what happened down in Sanford, Florida with George Zimmerman, we got to now bring this thing to the forefront. The next video that you see will be where we travel to Jasper, Florida, and this is the march that people are outraged. Black people now are using the court system that found George Zimmerman not guilty. They are using that now to get people registered to vote, to get them reactivated into the 1940s and 50s in civil rights movement like never before. The young people now see that we have major problems. And when the news media have ignored this young lady right here and her husband and their daughter here in Valdosta and Lowndes County, Georgia, and in the state of Georgia. Now look, she have produced packages. I wish you had one with you.
Yes,
she got the big packages, thick. She have produced them. Go and get it. And she have given them to every news agency that will take one. And if you want one, she will email them to you. But what we don't understand is how is it that the Georgia Attorney General, the Governor Nathan Deal, the Georgia Bar Association, because she's talking about the Public Defender's Office. There is major problems here in the Public Defender's Office in Lowndes County. We've been knowing about it for years. I've been talking about it for years. But now we got to call it out. Now, let me pass this over to this sister here. And when she tells you that she been to the news media, you didn't go to the news media in China, did you?
No.
You didn't go to the news media in North Korea, did you?
No.
You didn't go to the news media in Russia, did you?
No.
Okay, so if we can't get this reported in America, maybe we need to go to Russia or China or Iraq or Iran, and just maybe they will care enough about the legal system to do what we used to do, but seem like those days are long gone. Go ahead, my beautiful. So tell them about tell them that this is the size of the package. Talk to the people.
Those are my DVDs of what occurred. I have a package that I presented to them, to the news media. Everyone that asked that they needed information, I handed to them, and it was still not reported to this day. I also, when I went to the march, WCTV, Channel 6 was out there. I even stated to the people that all these news media that I had reported my information to did not want to report it. I don't understand why, because it's news, and if I got documentation stating the truth, why not report it? I'm not asking anybody to be biased. I just want you to report the facts. The facts are in that package. The facts are in the package, and it's detailed fact by fact what transpired. We have videos, we have a picture, and none of those information have been reported to the people who need to know what's going on in Valdosta, Georgia. I think it's news. I don't understand why it's not reported. And I had one of the news meter, I won't give his name, told us the reason why some people are afraid to report it because they have a good rapport with the sheriff's office. I don't think that's justifiable for you not to report the news. I thought when you were news media, when you get news and you got facts behind the news, you report it. I did not know in this day and time that they can withhold information from the public, and that's what I'm seeing.
One other thing, now you say you had statements. First they say that your daughter hit somebody, am I correct?
Yes.
And you didn't give them a copy of the statements, did you?
Yes, I gave them a copy
of the statement to show that your daughter in fact did not hit an educator, which is what? A felony for hitting an educator. Felony. And so now one other thing, I want you to tell me how many days have passed since this incident had happened here in this metro city of Valdosta, Georgia, home of Titletown, USA, Valdosta State University, Moody Air Force Base, Kendaloo Golf Course, Georgia Military College, Wiregrass Technical College, all these high levels of learning. And yet, how many days?
It's going on 2 months.
Over 60 days of the news.
As a matter of fact, in a few more days, it will be 3 months. And
wow.
No one has not reported it, none of the news. And I'm really questioning myself when I made this move here approximately 5 years ago, thinking that I was coming to a better place for my children. And to see this happen, that it didn't happen in a big old metro city like Miami and Miami Gardens, it's amazing to me. My kids lived in that city and never had problems. We come here and my daughter get falsely accused. I don't understand that. Where does the logic in that? As a person moving from a different state, I would be questioning whether is this someplace I want to move to.
Well, one other thing, what do you think? Like we marched in Jasper yesterday, but all those young people, what do you think those young people are going to say when they hear their parents and their grandparents and great-grandparents talked about this back in their day, and now it's moved up to 2013, and our young children got to experience and go through the same thing that they went through back in the 19 and 1800s. That's a hell of a way to have to live, wouldn't you think?
Yes, it is, because growing up, that was not really an issue as far as we having a march, because we did have some rights, but to say that we didn't experience profiling, because where I grew up, majority, we lived in a nice area, so I've never lived in nothing less. And we were profiled for a minute, but like my dad, like I always state, know your rights. So my daddy was a big advocate of knowing his rights, and they could not get away with it. After that, we didn't have any problems. As a matter of fact, the police down there respected us because we knew our rights. They knew they couldn't do anything about it. And that's the thing here. I'm appalled because here it is 2013, and our children are experiencing, they are being racially profiled, and that's what it is, racially profiled. They are being mishandled and mistreated by the judicial system. All the judicial system is another form where they loose your neck, hanging you on a thing, giving you this time so that they don't have to deal with you. They don't have to deal with you. And it's sad because I personally don't want to see our children in the judicial system. You're giving time to children who, some of the time they're giving is not even worth what the crime is.
And so we feel the probation role because they make us, lead us to plea bargain. If the public defenders are not as good and as accurate and as thorough and committed to justice as they should be, according to the people that I've seen out in the jail over 25 to 30 years, they say that sometimes they don't even see the lawyer until the day of the trial. And so they can't prepare for it, but they have prepared, I'm sure, for the plea bargain.
Yes.
And the plea bargain put them on probation, and somebody is reaping millions of dollars from people like myself under criminal trespass warning. As we close this out, and I want to say this again, the next video will be where we went, because we were called late that afternoon to Jasper, Florida. And I want you to listen to the voices, listen to the cries, listen to the needs of the people, and watch the young children who must watch what is happening, not in China, not in Russia, not in Iraq, nor Iran, not in North Korea, but here in the United States of America. Once again, hold that package up. And you took your money to make this package for the news media, and seemed like it just was a waste of time.
Yes.
Valdosta Daily Times and other local news media, it seems as if though you are continuing to not inform the people. Well, if you continue not to inform them, I'm going to continue informing them, because I understand the Jesus that many people dip in. You duplicate, you imitate, and you placate Jesus on Sunday and Saturday for the Jews and the Seventh-day Adventists and others. But when it comes down to standing up for the principles of those great men and women who followed that great line of Holy Divine, you're left in the cosmos. Now, close us out by letting us know the pain that you feel for your daughter who must go through this. And you got to go to tomorrow and then the 25th.
Yeah.
And it should not even be in court. It shouldn't even be no records on it. It should be dropped immediately. If the people who the deputy said these things happened to, if they said it didn't happen, then why does she have to pay money from her family to defend a lie or an untruth? And I've read the documents. I don't normally put myself out like that, but I read the statements from the teachers. Close us out. How you feel?
I'm hurt and I'm angry because, like I said before, I used to be a part of the judicial system. I was in law enforcement and I stood by the facts. And with you having all this information of the facts and you still refuse to follow through, we here dealing with a public defender who does not want to do his job. He's more busy getting us the plea bargain, Matt Monroe, than investigating, speaking to the witness, or subpoenaing people. Or my first thing that I told him to do, me and my husband, get this charges dismissed based on the facts. That is not in her file, expunge her file in the records, that it never happened based on the facts. He has not done that as of yet. Now here we are, 3 days before her hearing, he wants to meet and talk. What is there to talk about? How are you going to plead her case after all this time? You had plenty of time to do that, to investigate, to do all those things, to do a motion of discovery. You did none of those things, and yet you want to talk on Monday? What is there to talk about? Are you going to plead my daughter's case based on talking to her?
So you know what, excuse me, you know what I think? I think, and I don't understand the system that much. I've never had that much dealing with law enforcement, except I got this criminal trespass warning. But maybe you just ought to ask the judge, or to go and ask the district attorney or Georgia Attorney General, ask them to at least give you more time, because you haven't had the lawyer that they appointed you. He didn't do what you think he should have done. And they should give you more time for that. But once again, we in Lowndes County, Valdosta, Georgia. And it seems like, I've said it so many times before, it seems like they create their laws as they go. We went up before Judge Terry or something, and we found out something that we didn't know. And so this thing, no one, round and around she goes, and where she stops, nobody knows, but God knows just how deep the mole hole goes.
Yes, it is. And so now, come on July the 25th, 2013, we just received our papers from the sheriff's office telling us we have to be in court on the 25th. Like I say, a few days before it happened, we get what is it? I believe it's the subpoenas or whatever, that's witness subpoenas that we have to be in court concerning this incident with my daughter, July the 25th. Here it is Sunday. That's for this Thursday. We just receiving those papers. And honestly, it's appalling to me that I'm still going through this battle. And the sad part about it, I can't get people to help me. All these people that say they're gonna help me, I'm finding out really are not trying to help me. They're trying to make a name for themselves, and I don't understand at the point of my daughter's freedom, you want to make a name for yourself? You want people to hear your name? I don't have time for that. If you're not here to fight for me, please stay out of my face.
Amen.
Because right now it's about my daughter. It's not about nothing else. It ain't about for you being on publicity, people hearing your name and your organization. I don't have time for that. I need people that's gonna stand by me and that's gonna fight for justice and fight for the freedom of my daughter. That's my main concern. I'm hurt, I'm angry, and I'm tired of the lies and the deceitful people smiling your face and yet ain't got your best interests at heart. That's what I'm tired of.
Amen. Thank you so much, my beautiful sister. Thank you. And I just want to say, as they depart, I want to say this. You can look at this and be touched by it, but I have seen person after person after person, just like this young lady, they cried out and asked the question, why can't we get at least a news media to tell our story so at least the people in the community will know, so when their child is faced with the same thing, at least they have somebody to contact or to feel some grief or even to pray about it. But if they don't know about it, the pastors can't pray about it, the imams can't relay it to the synagogue, the Jews can't send it to the synagogue, the Muslims can't send it to the mosque, and everyday folk just don't know nothing about it. And I'm going to continue to say it, because there ain't nothing else for me to do. I don't understand how we have all these churches, and we can't get the truth out in a metro city in the state of Georgia. I just don't understand.
Please, I have a petition concerning my daughter. It is the petitionsite.com. It says it's on there, a 14-year-old not allowed her due process. Please, I beg everybody, please sign the petition. We are in need of help in Valdosta, Georgia. We really need y'all to help us. Please go sign the petition, www.thepetitionsite.com. 14-year-old, not allow her due process. Thank you.
Say it once again.
www.thepetitionsite.com. One word.
Well, when they go to how would they know what to click on to actually, which one would it be?
It'll have the number 14, and it said not allowed her due process. 14-year-old daughter, not allow her due process.
Okay, and I'm asking the people who are just going on Boston G.B.R. on YouTube and watching all the videos that we have done about this and other stuff, I'm asking all of you to sign that petition as well, because it is time now for the United States Justice Department. It is indeed time for Georgia Attorney General, the civil rights organizations, Al Sharpton, I thought he would have been back to Valdosta, Jesse L. Jackson, Operation Push. We got black folk and white right people down here crying out and won't nobody come down here to help us. Well, let me tell you something. Excuse me, sister. Excuse me. Come on. We are suffering in Valdosta. We need help down here in Valdosta, Georgia. What in the heck wrong with y'all? We got black men, white right people out the Moody Air Force Base. We got people going to VSU. The same thing should happen to your children. I'm tired myself. Thank you.
Nobody knows. about me. You may be black, you may be white. If you don't have no money, you catch hell sleeping at night. 'Cause nobody cares. Nobody. I wasn't there, hey, when they drove the slaves from the ship, and I wasn't there, no, hey, when they whipped my great-great-grandfather with the whip. Oh, I can feel the pain. Lord have mercy, I can feel the pain. Yeah, yeah, I can feel it. I can feel it. The pain, yes I can, and I wasn't there, no, hey, when they raped my great-great-great-grandmother, and I wasn't there, oh no, Lord, when she cried out for help, oh, I can feel the pain, early in the morning I can feel the pain, yeah, yeah. The pain, yes I can. I can still hear the slaves moaning as they slowly walk down the gangplank from the ship. And all I can do, Lord, all I can do is stand there and cry. Hey, Lord, 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 oh, oh Lord, the God Almighty. Oh, I can feel the pain. Yes, I can. I said I can feel the pain. Lord, Lord, oh, I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel the pain. Yes, I can. They locked up one of our black sisters not long ago. Angela Davis was her name. Oh, yeah. I said they handcuffed her and they took off to jail. Oh, yes, they did. And I want to say, I wasn't there, but I can feel the pain. Yeah, yeah, Lord, Lord, I can feel the pain. My. Oh, I can feel it. I can feel it. Oh, I can feel it. I can feel the pain. Oh, yeah. I wasn't there when they shot Malcolm X. I can feel it. Oh, I can feel it. I can feel the pain. Oh, Lord. Never been a slave, but I can feel it. I can feel the pain. Yeah, Lord, I said I can feel it. Oh, I can feel it. I can feel the pain. When they shot Martin Luther King, Lord, I said I can feel it. Lord, I can feel it. I can
Report your story short,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'm glad to hear that. Because you know what? But that's the day the Times ain't gonna report this story.
I'm George Boston Rhines, and I am in my 93rd day of being restricted to or from inner areas of Lowndes County school properties here in Valdosta and Lowndes County, Georgia. I have gone to the Sheriff's Department, Magistrate Court, Superior Court, Federal Court, District Attorney's Office. And today, as you look over the pictures that are now on your screen, you must ask yourself, where did these come from? These are issues and problems that I highlighted over the many months and years. These were bats in the ceiling of the Hudson Docket areas of HUD-funded apartments. Much of the work that I have done was not necessarily approved by many of the citizens nor elected officials. Looking back over my criminal trespass warning, the question must be asked, did some of my work, not only with the Kendrick Johnson's protests, marches, etc., but dating back to the Hudson Docket problems, the Equipment 10 situation, the 31 jail deaths from 1994 to 2009, and from 2009 to 2013, no one knows what has happened in our beloved community. When our children in the Hudson Docket area didn't have any swings because it was all tore up, I was called by an elderly lady, and I went to the scene. And this is a condition that I found this area of low-income people. And of course I presented it to the City Council, Valdosta City Council that is, under former Mayor John Freddy. And yet I was somewhat seen, I guess, as a person that was politically posturing, as the former mayor said, political posturing. I have talked about the fact that our city and county governments will give a prelude and afterburner of what takes place at public meetings here in Valdosta and Lowndes County, Georgia. While the majority of citizens are not conservative, but our elected officials seems to frequent the radio stations that criticize the commander-in-chief of our sons and daughters, now stationed at Moody Air Force Base. And of course, I was directly on that, and I presented that many times before our elected officials. Holes and other items and block signs, and it's just a whole bunch of stuff I brought up. So on May 25th, 2013, I was approached by a Lowndes County deputy and told I had been banned for 2 weeks already, even before May the 25th, and that if I went on any area of Lowndes County High School that I would be arrested. And so we can only ask if what you're looking at that went unreported for the most part. But then again, we must ask another question. On January the 10th, Kendrick Johnson was found dead at the Lowndes County High School gymnasium. And because I reported a lot concerning that case, well, is that why, or did that contribute to me being on a 93-day criminal trespass warning by Lowndes County High School West Taylor and Sheriff Prine here in this city and county? So the Lowndes County School Superintendent must be aware that I have done nothing wrong. However, this is what I'm talking about, and this is what I'm trying to show to the American people. You better be careful out there. We don't know what's going on in our beloved country. This is the Ghetto Free Press. Bye-bye.
This is Valdosta, Georgia, and the mother here in Valdosta wanted me to record this, and I told her I would. The newspaper reads, "It's all about you." But she said it was not about her 14-year-old daughter that were handcuffed at Pine Grove Middle School. No news media in South Georgia have reported that to the general public, much like the 31 jail deaths, much like my criminal trespass warning. I am now into my 68th day of being banned from Lowndes County school properties by persons and parties unknown. We had better wake up here in South Georgia to the mother, the father, and the 14-year-old girl. I just got word that soon there will be somebody outside of Valdosta that will be reporting y'all's story. Once again, headlines is all about you, but not about the 14-year-old middle school student that were handcuffed and charged with felony, a felony charge. Later found out that there's a possibility that records was falsified or an untrue statement. This is Boston G.B.R. on YouTube. It is sad, but in the end, truth, justice, and right will win. Bye-bye. We're gone. But even more interesting is how could this 14-year-old mother, as you will see in a minute, this 14-year-old child's mother state her case why she cannot get any television station or newspaper here in South Georgia to tell her story. Before it is over, everybody in the United States of America will understand what I've been talking about from 10 to 20 years or more about a controlling, suppressing, and abating the news and the people here in South Georgia. I want you to listen to a video done earlier because I want you to hear this mother state her case. Although the local pastors, lawyers, doctors, educators, and others seem uninterested in standing up for civil, human, and women's rights as black African Americans and white people did yesterday. Listen, please. All these churches, and we can't get the truth out in a metro city in the state of Georgia. I just don't understand.
Please, I have a petition concerning my daughter. It is the petitionsite.com.
This mother's daughter was tackled, handcuffed, charged with the felony of striking an educator. The two educators that the Lowndes County Sheriff Deputy wrote up in a statement saying that this 14-year-old attacked the teachers The teacher said it never happened, that the student didn't even hit them. Yet, this mother and father must spend their hard-earned money to defend something that never even happened. This is where I ask you all, let me repeat, this is why I ask you all over and over again, how many of our young black boys and black girls and poor white folk are in jail, on probation, prison, or on death row? All because a person that wears a uniform lie on them or have a bad attitude and talk to them less than citizens, that leads our young people to retaliate in ways that all they have to do is write it up as criminal trespass warning, obstruction of a police officer, interfering with, and you don't hardly do nothing. And the sad thing about it is that when you go to the newspapers and a controlled television station and try to get your story told, they don't care. Listen to this mother.
It says it's on there, a 14-year-old not allowed her due process. Please, I beg everybody, please sign a petition. We are in need of help in Valdosta, Georgia. We really need y'all to help us. Please go sign a petition. www.thepetitionsite.com. 14-year-old not allowed her due process.
Say it once again.
www.thepetitionsite.com. One word.
Well, when they go to the, how would they know what to click on to actually, which one would it be?
It'll have the number 14. And it said not allowed her due process. 14-year-old daughter not allowed her due process.
Okay, now I'm asking the people who are just going on Boston G.B.R. on YouTube and watching all the videos that we have done about this and other stuff. I'm asking all of you to sign that petition as well, because it is time now for the United States Justice Department. You know, the sad thing about it is that most every agency in the United States of America are aware of what's going on here. It started way back, but at least in 89, a civil action, 89-54-VAL, was a action that was done by inmates in the Lowndes County Jail. Dorothea Patterson was the lead plaintiff. The Honorable Judge Hugh Lawson found 60 to 105 violations, and he ruled in June of '97 to fix these problems. But no one seemed to abide by the law here in the state of Georgia, as I've been saying. It seems as if though Georgia, we have our own set of laws, and they just do what they want. And this here particular case on even Kendrick Johnson and the autopsy, we are waiting for the second autopsy, and we got to wait to see how that comes back. But man, we are really in a bad state of repair down here. And it seems like Al Sharpton came once, and Jesse Jackson, well, I think he's lost in the cosmos, my beautiful brother. I love him, got the greatest respect for him, and always will, based upon what he's done. But here in South Georgia, it seems as if Oprah Winfrey and those who are, and white right people as well, we must understand that white right people have always struggled and stood by black people in times such as these, but there's something strange happening in our world. This mother, I walked with her, she called me, and let's just listen to the rest of some of her pain concerning her 14-year-old, and can't even get no newspaper in Georgia to do anything or even report it to the general public. Listen, please. It is indeed time for Georgia Attorney General, the civil rights organizations, Al Sharpton, I thought he would have been back to Valdosta, Jesse L. Jackson, Operation Push. We got black folk and white right people down here crying out and won't nobody come down here to help us. Well, let me tell you something. Excuse me, sister. Excuse me. Come on. We are suffering in Valdosta. We need help down here in Valdosta, Georgia. What in the heck wrong with y'all? We got black men, white right people, out the moving out for us, baby. We got people ask you the same thing should happen to your children. I'm tired. Don't tell myself. Thank you.
Nobody knows the pain I feel. Nobody knows how I hurt inside. There are no tears in my eyes.
And now you have the rest of the story.
If you have a sheriff and you have a coroner that will participate in activity like this and they will not give the community answers and be forthcoming, I believe you have to look at those people very, very heavily and ask whether or not this is where you want to place your vote. But again, you know, I can simply say the coroner not reporting the incident that he had drove over that young man's body twice, that's bothersome to me because I think that's an integrity issue. And I think that speaks to the if he did it by mistake, great. Raise your hand and say, look, I made a big mistake here. But he never did that, and that's bothersome to me.
Right. And is there anything else you think would be important to add that we haven't touched upon?
Absolutely nothing else besides we'll be back on the 22nd and we're going to lay the whole case out.
Awesome. All right. Thanks very much, sir.
Thank you.
I would like to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
You spoke of not voting for Hillary or
Hillary Bernie or Donald Trump.
Now, my question to you is that I'm involved with a lot of civil rights organizations, and many of these organizations are encouraging people to exercise their right to vote. And when I hear you say that, that sounds kind of like poison to me. Do you really mean that, or are you really trying to say that?
I absolutely mean that.
So you're saying that you do not believe that blacks ought to vote at all?
In national election, no.
So, I mean, do you mean that, or are you trying to...
Listen to me. As it relates to the presidential election, the national election, I am absolutely unequivocally telling you that, yes, I do not believe that black people should even worry about voting in those elections. And here's my reason why. First and foremost, the Democratic Party is not going to change anything for black people. They never get our agenda across. As much as they pretend as though they are our friends, so on and so forth, they don't ever help us get our agenda across. The Republican Party is certainly not going to help us get our agenda across. So what I believe is much smarter for us, let us form our own political party with our own agenda, with our own candidate, who we know is actually going to represent us once we can get our own people into government in the capacity that we know will help and serve us. And that is what we should be focused on, because none of those political factions are going to save us at all. Absolutely at all. Nor are they going to help us. More especially while we're talking about the Clintons. Listen, they're not going to help us. They're not. They're not going to help us. But moving on to the issue we're here to deal with today. You have a question as it relates to that?
Yes. What do you see as could be an impediment to your advancement in this particular case?
I don't see any.
You don't see everything possible?
Absolutely. You best believe that.
Is that
when the God is involved, I don't see any impediments.
That was
God
my next,
is involved.
That was my next question.
I don't see it.
That was my next question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
No, thank you, brother. I appreciate
it. You have any question for me?
No, whatsoever. Keep doing the great things you do. And for all those civil rights organizations that you talked about earlier, we love y'all. We love all black organizations. We are about 360 degrees of total black unification. Whether we have the same philosophy or not, we refuse to fight with any of our brothers and sisters, because we may not all agree on the way to get there, but we all do agree that we got to get there.
Let me ask you one other question.
Yes, sir.
You leave me this.
Come on.
When you say that not voting, are you saying like this is a revolutionary movement?
Absolutely.
Since none of them help. Since none of them help.
Since none of them, absolutely.
Right. That's what I
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
We have done it. When you say that, yes. We have done that as a people, and it's not time to, as somebody, a revolutionary change.
You better believe it. I mean, but listen. This is the point I'm trying to make to you. Politics, although they are in everything, politics is not going to liberate our people. And what I mean by that is, look who your president is. Look what party your president is representing. When was the Black Lives Matter movement born? Under the administration of a black president and the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party in politics is not going to save our people. We need need to come together and form a totally separate party from the Democratic Party or Republican Party and create a separate agenda that is 360 degrees totally about us. We need to choose our own candidates that has nothing to do with these two factions and push our own agenda, and that way we can finally start to get true freedom, justice, and equality for our people, because we're not going to get it under either of these two parties.
So you probably would say that with President Barack Obama, there was a lot of hope and a lot of hope lost under his administration.
Well, you know, I know there was a lot of hope, but I will say this much. The president is a beautiful man, but I think it is wrong of us to expect him to be able to do something or to ask of him to do something that we know he cannot do. The office the president represents is basically Pharaoh's house. That's what it is. And he's sitting in Pharaoh's position. So I will say he's done us a service in this way. Haven't been any scandal attached to his name. Haven't been able to say he had any extramarital affairs. They have not been able to attach anything to his name other than calling him Barack the Magic Negro. So I think he's represented us well in the fact that he's always spoke well, him and the beautiful First Lady. She's always represented black women beautifully. So I think he has done us a great service in showing the polished, brighter side of our community, which they don't believe we have. We have hundreds of thousands of Barack Obamas in our community. We have several Barack Obamas in our community. Besides the image that they place on television and on magazines and in newspapers about us, our communities are full of Barack Obamas. And that's where I think he's represented us well. He's shown America what we are capable of. He's shown America what we can produce. And we have, again, hundreds of thousands of Baracks. He ain't the only one. So look deep into the black community. You'll find Barack Obamas all day long.
My name is George Boston Rhymes, and the reason I'm here is two things. Number one is that since I retired here, I've been concerned about citizens' access to their elected officials and the information that comes up at public meetings being disseminated among the people in our community. I realize that you all do not have control over that because you're not the media, but I do hope that we can continue to have a government that is open for all of the people in our community. Now, what concerns me is that, and when Chairman talked with the sheriff of our community, I remember requesting for the names of the inmates that had died in that jail, and he was kind enough to give me a listing of the people in the jail. Sadly to say, but from 2009 to present, I can't find out under the open records request that same information. And so I'm hoping that at some level, somebody could direct me on which area to go to get the information that when Sheriff Parker was our sheriff, gave me that information. And so with that in mind, I just want to thank you all for the work that you're doing, continue what you're doing. But I do believe in open government. I'm retired military, and if I fought, and I did, for people over in foreign countries to have a right to their elected officials, open government, and I thank you all very much for continuing that process. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Ryan, do you realize that the sheriff is a constitutional officer, of course, is not an employee of the commission, so really he acts on his own.
Yes, sir. Everywhere I go, I hear that. I was over in Brooks County, and they inform me of the same thing.
That is, that's state law.
Right, but at the same time, I seem like somebody in the state of Georgia would know how we could get that information if it is open. And I will move my case to Atlanta and then further until I try to get that information on behalf of the citizens, mothers and fathers who call me on that subject. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
John. My name is George Boston Rhymes, 5004 Oak Drive, Valdosta, Georgia. It is obvious that we have a problem. I retired here 91. I got to the spirit in 89. I have followed the late Art Paulson, editor of Al Parsons, since 89. The history shows that we have had 30 deaths in our jail. That's dealing with law enforcement. We are leading the state of Georgia in jail deaths. That is a matter of record. I talked to the city manager, and I talked to the sheriff, Sheriff Ryan, about an alleged taser death on May 8, 2010. I talked to his counsel about that same death. There's an individual in the city that is afraid for his life. He's moving from place to place. I have his phone number. He often called me even about his son that is incarcerated in the jail. Like Brother Cunningham said, you know, sooner or later, something's going to be done. I'm 100% sure of that. I was 100% sure, and I told the mayor and council when that disgraceful 1860 child was out there, I told them before they removed it that it would be removed. I told you before it happened that Garber Park name would be changed. And I'm going to tell you that the citizens will be heard if they're going to remain at the end of the agenda, that at least the council member be put after them. But it is time for the citizens of Valdosta and Lowndes County be respected. And we hear people keep singing that tune. But little to nothing is being done as I see it. So I'm going to close out with the story of a fleet. Since 1989, I know I stood before the council. I know the NAACP, people from Jesse Jackson Rainbow Coalition, and Attorney Mathis out of Atlanta had come. But you know, it's something strange about a flea. You put a flea in a jar, and he'll jump up, and he'll jump up, and he'll keep on jumping just like the citizens of Valdosta, and just like I've done it. And deaths are still happening, won't nobody even say boo. So the flea keeps jumping up and banging his head on the top of the jar. And then you look around, the flea gives up. He's not dead. He's just tired of jumping up and down and don't see any results. And so they know they've gotten old now, so they don't get up. And from our perception, we look at them, we think they're dying, we think they're all happy that they're living in paradise. And they are just having sex to make some little more fleas to jump up and bang their head because they know one day that their God gonna hear their cries.
Oh yeah, hey baby, this is why they put me under the criminal trespass warning. In fact, maybe this is why. This is the Ghetto Free Press, keeping you informed. As Paul Hard would say, now get the rest of the story. Is this why? Is this why they put me under this warning? To keep you deaf, dumb, ignorant, and blind? Oh, yeah, hey, baby, this is why they put me under the criminal trespass warning. In fact, maybe this is why. This is the Ghetto Free Press, keeping you informed. As Paul Hard would say, now get the rest of the story. Is this why? Is this why they put me under this warning? To keep you deaf, dumb, this 14-year-old girl that were handcuffed with her face down at Pine Grove Middle School under Wes Taylor, the superintendent of Lowndes County Schools. When the mother and father went to news media to report what happened to their daughter, no news media until this day, after 99 days, much like mine, criminal trespass and denial of my constitutional rights, nothing has been reported in the news media in Valdosta and Lowndes County, Georgia. And so we can only imagine how many more mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and parents have had the same thing to happen to them in the school system. And our local news media in South Georgia, we commend them for the outstanding work that they do. But at the same time, we must ask the question, why, oh why, did this mother have to cry out as you gonna see in this video? Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press, KYRC, saying Know Your Rights campaign. There is something wrong here in the United States of America. Something wrong when a 14-year-old child can be charged with a felony, and then the people who they say she assaulted or hit send statements and say it never took place. The charges was not dropped against this young girl, black African-American type. We, the people of the United States of America, more especially those who have put their lives on the line in foreign nations, we better ask some questions today, or we are losing this republic, y'all. Now listen to this mother. Listen to her as she tell you her story and the lack of justice here in Lowndes County, Georgia. Listen, go ahead. Tell us what happened today. We at the Lowndes County Courthouse just got out with Judge Ellaby. Tell us what took place there, and did you receive justice for you and your daughter?
No, I actually did not receive justice because it was amazing to me. Judge Ellaby presided over the case when it was supposed to be Judge Terry Adams. I don't know why they put him over the case because he knows nothing, supposedly nothing about the case, but unfortunately they put him on the case, and his track record is not good when it comes to our black people and our black children. He has been known to put them in jail for the littlest things that don't even make sense for them to be incriminated for, and yet they allowed him to be over this case. That lets me know that this place is nothing but a setup, and just really a setup to make sure that this not lawyer, but the police officer does not get arrested. And it's amazing to me how things work here. There's no justice. There's no justice for my child. But it would be a different story if it was their child going through the same situation. Then they'd be crying, wanting somebody to help them. But because it's my child, and I guess because of her skin color, she doesn't matter. This judge was very nasty. On top of it, he was very rude, telling my daughter that he see with her grades, the only thing she'll be able to do is be a singer or an artist or a painter or something of that nature. That is derogatory because first of all, she had good grades and she's passed. And like I explained to him, she's making A's in her 9th grade now. She's an A student. Now what's your excuse for the comments?
Okay, let's back up a little bit now. What generated all of this? You gave us information, but on May the 24th, that been 99 days ago. The reason I know it because I'm under criminal trespass. The next day, the sheriff or deputy lied on me, so it seemed like they lied on you the day before. Yeah. I mean, on your daughter. So that's 2 in 1. But look, let me ask you my beautiful. Let me ask you another question. I personally was in there, and I think that you did an outstanding presentation. So did your husband. But I just don't have no confidence in the Southern Judiciary. Period. I have a long history as the former president of the NAACP with Judge Ellaby. And he's been very controversial now. But to get back to what you said, to make it be pointed, who was the judge that's supposed to have been over this?
Judge Terry Adams. And the sad part about it, we were told from her that she was going to move the case over to the Supreme Court. Now, how did it get back into her case?
You mean Supreme Court, Superior Court?
Superior Court. And how did it get back in her file and then turn around, Judge Ellaby is over the case?
You also talked about, and you brought up the fact that what you was concerned about was the protection of other kids, so no other child would be handcuffed and taken down like a murderer, really. You could not have taken a murderer down any worse than this 14-year-old child. And to sit here and watch Judge Ellaby do this, in my most humble opinion, to me it was a disgrace. I really must say that. But we have said it over and over again. There is something real wrong here in Valdosta and Lowndes County. Wouldn't you say?
Yes,
well, even not only that. My beautiful sister, excuse me for touching you, but check this. Wouldn't you say that even more disgraceful is that what happened to your daughter at Pine Grove Middle School and under Wes Taylor, who's the superintendent of the school? Isn't it more disgraceful that not one newspaper, not one radio that I know of or television station covered this whole thing? So how do you think these parents feel out here and the general people in the metro city, they don't even know not only about what is here today, but they don't know nothing about what happened at school and your child. What do you think about that?
I think it's a disgrace because the facts are the facts. He wanted me to present the facts, so I presented the facts. And how can you, based on the facts, showing that the teacher and the principal collaborated our story and collaborated what had transpired, and this officer wrote a false report and falsely arrest my daughter, say he's not guilty? Based on the facts I presented, showed the picture of her being arrested, showed the picture of emails from the teacher and the principal that he allowed to be in evidence, and yet and still he say that.
He read it into the record, am I correct?
Yes, he did.
He read it into the record. Now, but the thing about it, unless you appeal it or something like that, and since there were no news media about none of this, we can only imagine how many other people have gone through the same thing. I know I didn't violate it at all, and I'm in my 99th day, 98th day. She's in her 99th day. In a couple of days, it'll be over 100 days that I've been restricted without any one respecting my rights. Any other closing remarks? I think your husband did an outstanding job too. And you made it. Wait a minute. You clarified this. You made this very clear that you have knowledge in the law enforcement field to the judge. And why do you think that he seemed like he had trouble understanding what you say? Do you think it because he's white, he can't understand black folk? Why do you and your husband had to keep repeating? I understood what you all said very well. And I think that if anybody go back and listen to that tape, they probably ask a question, why did he have you all to repeat what you were saying when it should have been even understood by a person in kindergarten or third grade?
Not to mention, the reporter didn't have a hard time understanding while she was reading it into the notes. So how is it he had a hard time understanding? The judge's mind was already made up when he came into court, because based on the evidence that we presented, there is no way he should have came out without a guilty verdict.
Everything that you brought up, including the pictures, the statement from Mr. Yarborough, who actually stated that your daughter didn't even hit her. And that was the base of the wasn't that a felony?
Yes, that was the base of the felony. And yet and still, how can you say it was based on the felony? The people that were involved was based on it. We gave them information from those particular people, and you can't still justify and say that she did the act. That's falsifying records. I don't know where he got his degree from, but that's falsifying records.
And if anybody, wow, this is heavy. To me, the precedent that was set today in this courtroom is this. The law enforcement, a sheriff deputy, can take any child, hog tie them, handcuff them, throw them to the ground, and charge them with a felony, suspend them from school for 5 days, force the parents to go out and get a lawyer in these hard economic times to defend their child. And if you don't have the guts, number one, and if you don't have the money, then you will plea bargain.
That's it.
You think that's what they want you to do?
Yeah, that's what they've been trying to do. And, when we had the public defender, that was his main goal. Oh, we'll take the battery charge off if you just plea bargain to the fray and disrupting. But under the castle doctrine law, my daughter had a right to defend herself. She was attacked. That's the part that I'm still amazed of. She was attacked. But here's the thing. Maybe if we would have brought a white girl in and pretend that she was my daughter, there would be some sympathy.
Wow. Let's go back to what got me, and this is why the Ghetto Free Press, KYRC, the Ghetto Free Press, KYRC, which means Know Your Rights campaign. This is why we're going to take it to the next level. They can come after me, but I will assure you that there's going to be somebody else that will pick up the camera, because this cannot go on. The Georgia Secretary of State, Georgia Attorney General, I'm saying to you, something is wrong in the state of Georgia, and Eric Holder of the Justice Department, I don't know why y'all getting paid up there. If you cannot see from what I have already presented, over 20 years of proof, documentation in a very professional military manner, which I was trained to do, and you still cannot come down and do something in this God-forsaken place called Lowndes County, Valdosta, and South Georgia in general. Now, the most important part, in my most humble opinion, we have missed. So let's go back before we close this out on the Ghetto Free Press. First of all, the judge told you when you asked for a continuance, he said that they sent it out to you on the 12th.
Yes.
After checking his records, he found out it was sent out on the 13th.
The 14th.
The 14th, which means you only had a few days, am I correct?
Yes.
To subpoena these people.
Yes.
When you ask for a continuance, I have seen people get continuance for little of nothing.
Yes.
And so, what do you think about him? Right off, it came to I said to myself from then, I said, you're not going to get into justice in this case, not under Judge Ellaby.
No,
That's what I said.
I mean, I knew of him, and I knew his track record, and I know that I was not going to get any justice. I just pray that God would probably touch his heart, and he'll do the right thing for the first time in his life. But I guess he one of those people like Pharaoh. His heart is stone.
And again, the history of Judge Ellaby go way back with the NAACP, the SCLC, Jesse Jackson people. Attorney Janice Mathis from Atlanta came down concerning the problem that we had had. Now, if this particular case had been given some type of media exposure other than my YouTube, which I have over 250,000 views. So I got a call this morning, you may not know, I got a call this morning from Korea. People are watching this information, and they saying, what is happening in the New South? Well, this is what's happening in the New South, but you don't read about it in the Valdosta Daily Times, which means in years to come, when people pick up the Valdosta Daily Times and look at television video, they won't see none of this. Now, the Secretary of State made a statement in the Equipment Free Press a few months ago, that if it's not published in the local newspaper, it didn't happen. Well, I'm not going to call the Secretary of State a lie because he was the one being interviewed. I'm not going to call the Secretary of State, Brian P. Kemp, a liar, but I will say this. He is wrong. This particular case did happen because we just left out the courtroom, but nothing was published in no South Georgia news media. The Valdosta Daily Times, Kay Harris, are fully aware of it. Greg from Channel 6 are aware of it. People from 27, ABC, NBC are aware of this. So now we got to ask ourselves a question. How many other black children, or poor white children in particular, have been caught up in the same thing? But because we don't have a news media to report cases like this, then you all are, as I said before, deaf, dumb, and blind, because they don't want you to know.
Because at the end of the day, it's my daughter that's being affected. It's my household that's being affected. But no one seems to care about our well-being. It's as if we are nothing here. And it's sad to say, because she was unjustly done wrong. And now she was being unjustly done wrong by the court system. Time and time again, we're being justly done wrong. Who is going to stand up? These people go to church every Sunday saying they worship Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior, but yet they have no heart to do the right thing. What book are you picking up? I just want to know what book, because he's a God of truth. And if you feel the truth, you'll do the right thing, and you'll make it known that what you have done is an injustice and it's wrong to an innocent 14-year-old who never should have went through this. She was assaulted. She was attacked. And we're going through the courts for people who don't seem to care nothing. What God you serve? If it's your white Jesus, he still say truth.
Town has never really left the 60. Valdosta have never left from where it was segregated. Valdosta have always been a black and white town.
If you want to get ahead in Valdosta, you're African American, you metaphorically kiss the right butt. and not complain. And stay on your knees
Any
and pray.
change. It haven't really been any change. You do what you do over there and don't bother nobody or don't make no fuss, and it's all right. Well, the town has never really left the 60. Valdosta have never left from where it was situated. Valdosta have always been a black and white town.
Once again, this is the Get To Free Press, and I'm George Boston Rhines, and I'm standing in front of the Lowndes County High School entrance. And as you know, I am on a 4-year, 3-month criminal trespass. And I could talk to you about what's going on in Virginia, but I want you to know about what's happening here in Valdosta and Lowndes County, Georgia. I just picked up some papers from the court system in the Southern Judiciary here in Lowndes County, Georgia. And these papers were filed in the courts on the 7th of August. And what we have is a witness that came forth in the Kendrick Johnson case. But I want you to know that this witness has some very interesting information for the general public. And because of the Kendrick Johnson case being such a high-profile case, I am sure that the Valdosta Daily Times, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, CNN, and other news media outlets will be informing you what this is all about. Now, when I received this information, I received a phone call as usual. And when I received the phone call, I went to the courthouse, I paid the price to get this information. And I will assure you that it is quite interesting. I will not say what it is, but all I want to say to you is that a witness came forward with some information. Whether it is true or not, somebody under the judicial system will find out just how credible this witness is. I see that Shaveen King signed off, and it is a legal document, if you can see it here.
it.